Hello, computer.
Hello, world. Clinton here. I'm back. Taking a break. Taking a break largely from computers. And been working on developing a healthy media ecology. That's McLuhan speak for controlling exactly when and where and for how long I focus my mind on what I'm doing and then focus it within a medium. Books, screens, music. And I don't mix it up. Don't listen to music when I read books. Don't listen to music when I'm typing on a computer. See? No more multitasking. It's a focus thing. And honestly, it's been great. It's been wonderful. And I've been getting a lot done. Looking to kind of formalize this a little bit. But I've been getting so much reading done. So I want to talk a little bit about the books I've been reading. Finally finished The Mechanical Bride by Marshall McLuhan. What a fantastic book. It was his first book. English professor Marshall McLuhan from the University of Toronto. It came out in 1951, and it is a close reading of a whole bunch of magazine advertisements. Before this book, which was big, came out, no one had ever analyzed ads like art before. So, I'd like to compare this book and explaining it to two other books, each by Camille Paglia. One of them is Sexual Personae, which I got in 2015 and read, raved about online. Camille Paglia's Sexual Personae is all about masculinity and femininity and androgyny as they occur in Western art over the past couple centuries, and especially in the past 500, 600 years of poetry by, all the famous Western canon of artists, and how they all represent the genders and within a reflection of their culture. And she brings it right up into the modern day with the paganism of rock and roll. I think she compares Elvis to the poet Byron, for instance. And I just loved this book. And The Mechanical Bride might as well be called Industrial Personae, because especially the latter half is all about the sort of human archetypes which come out of a world full of machines. Not just machines, but also commodified systems for living, especially as sold to us as, say, a exercise routine or a cleansing routine, right? By these steps, by a book which promises to teach you high school courses, right? All the knowledge and culture you can get step by step, and the sort of people who come out of a culture where everything is machinic and where the human body is something broken up into parts. McLuhan talks not just about how cars car advertisements employ sexual metaphors and imbue shapely connotations upon cars as a marketing tool. That's lazy, according to McLuhan. His real insight is merging that with advertisements which talk about the engineering of brassieres and corsets to create the perfect womanly form, right? The engineering of the human body is the same as the cars being sexy. It's both halves of the same man-machine merger which come about in a society, an industrial society, full of machines. He talks about archetypes like the innocent Coca-Cola advertisement woman, which was popular at the time, I suppose. Coke ads concentrate on the good girl image as opposed to the dominant bad girl of popular entertainment, right? Thus imbuing Coca-Cola with a sense of safeness and wholesomeness compared to the majorette used in this aspirin advertisement, where he says, "Who dreamed up that goose-stepping combination of military mechanism and jack-booted eroticism?" Yeah, like the majorette, the young woman at the front of the parade on a football game, Looks like a military leader / dancer. I guess it's kind of weird when you do think about it. I never thought about it. Why you gotta read this book, right? The ways in which all these different forms merge and collide. This is McLuhan's only like moralistic book. All his later stuff goes into just the machines, the media. But I mean, books are made on the printing press machine and the Gutenberg galaxy and televisions and all that sort of stuff. But this book was really interesting. Look at this guy. I'm tough. There's something quaintly pre-industrial about all this. It's so porous, so biological, so self-consciously self-congratulatory. Like the face in the present ad, it is theatrical and phony in the same way as a sports page ferocity. The real toughness today has shifted from the personal Darwinian melodrama to the abstractions of logistics, cybernetics, and consumer research, thanks to the refinements and perversions of statistical measurement and international business machine logistics. This book is about people turning into robots, people being broken up into their individual body parts, people being the way that football coaches are like CEOs who abstractly tell their workers what to do and then sit back and watch the results happen. This divorce from the scene itself to see things as a sequence of numbers and whatnot. Engineered bodies and sexy cars. There's a part in the biography of Richard Stallman that I'm reading. I'll get into him later. Suffice to say, he's a very extremely important life. It's hard to overestimate the importance of Richard Stallman in our world today, for even my own sense of basic well-being. But he loved computer. He loves computers. He's a computer programmer extraordinaire. And there's a scene in his biography where he passes by the old computer at MIT, which has been disconnected, the one that they had been programming for decades. They had built up the time-sharing system on that. All the hackers who worked in the MIT research lab. And it was basically in the trash. It was unplugged, ready to be thrown out, and he saw it and broke down and cried. The emotional investment which people can have for computers is something which I feel with, and maybe I feel kind of corny, geeky about, but that is the man-machine merger. And so to read about the 1950s really helps me work on this project of understanding computers in our world today. Just as Marshall McLuhan brought to life a mode of analyzing the environment in which he lived. A world full of advertisements. They weren't really studied like art before he made this book, and then the folk art of ads became the pop art of Andy Warhol, according to Camille Paglia, right? And he did this through a close reading of advertisements. So Camille Paglia wrote a close reading of a selection of the canon of great poetry of the Western culture. Break, Blow, Burn starts off with a couple Shakespeare sonnets. Goes into John Donne, William Blake, Coleridge, Walt Whitman, Emily Dickinson, William Butler Yeats, etc., etc. I'm just starting through it. It'll be my first exposure to all these important names, which I've heard. But she breaks them down line by line, metaphor by metaphor, unpacking the structure of it, how the artist uses form and meaning and the juxtaposition of it all to give the deep human heart and soul of the art in their work, right? This is what close reading is. according to Camille Paglia. And it's way better than the deconstruction of the postmodernists, like in film studies in university. When we watched a clip from Brian De Palma's Body Double, which was supposedly emblematic of all horror films, which where the body getting penetrated is, the woman's form being violated by a phallic symbol, like male gaze, all this stuff. Like, actually, Body Double by Brian De Palma, directed by Brian De Palma, is a fantastic homage to Hitchcock. We never touched on that. We just saw a clip of it and talked about this pre-baked application of Freudian theory, which could be universally given to all horror films, and look out for it in the future. Whenever you see a horror film, wait for the part where the patriarchy comes along and stabs the chick and punishes her for being a harlot, right? That was the kind of the analysis of art that I was exposed to in university. And you know what? This is way better. Don't try to unpack some subtext of art before you learn how to appreciate art for what it is saying and what it is and what the artist, life of the artist first. So, this book is basically a close reading of a human world filled with machines, showing me how to do what I'm doing with Silicon and Charybdis. Let's understand the art of this wonderful interface, this metaphor with this deep, rich world which we have called cyberspace. It's kind of a different space than reality itself. When you invest yourself in a computer screen, you are entering a virtual world of the sort that is fantasized about in movies like Tron, let's say. Right, I feel like the popular perception of virtual reality is way too fictional and way too fantastical, and so divorced from my basic understanding of computers and what they are as little universal Turing machines full of, right? Like, a Turing machine can do anything, and has been able to do anything for decades, for so long as we've had them. So no matter how diverse and wonderful the different software applications we have in the world today are, they are infinitesimally small fraction, instantiations of the potential of what a universal Turing machine can be. And we're surrounding ourselves with this hardware. Don't get distracted by the software just yet. Understand the software, but know what the hardware can do and might be doing without you knowing it. And that's where Richard Stallman is going to come in real soon. Okay, guys, always have faith in Richard Stallman. So, just as the Mechanical Bride revealed the hidden environment of advertisements, Silicon and Charybdis will reveal to you the wonders of our virtual spaces and their grounding in the physical, in the real. And we'll press onward in our public YouTube journey to greater understanding and security and wholeness and heart and soul, taking back our humanity in this post-industrial information world. Take care. Till next time. Good night.